Good day, I'm Adlam from KZN Top Business and Business Sense. And today we're sitting with Russell from Invest Durban. Russell Curtis heads up Invest Durban. Russell, last week we had an incredible meeting at the IBV where we spoke about beyond the noise in KZN in South Africa. And it was one of those business meetings that just evolved into a thought pattern that was absolutely brilliant. So there was something that came out, a lot of points that came out, but in particular, a trend to go to private-public partnerships, the PPP.
Sure, Grant. No, it's congratulations to you and your team. That was a wonderful event. I think someone coined the term an antidote to the negative braai talk. So as we've just had Heritage Month and Braai Day, I think that was a good line to tag on. So thank you to you and the broader team for pulling us together. We all have enough doses of hard reality. It's nice to come together when there's some envisioning, some enlightening, some empowering, and some encouraging. So I think the discussions around public-private partnerships have got two aspects for me. The one is infrastructurally, and the other one is potentially around what we might call a social partnership. So let me just talk to the first one, public-private partnerships in the infrastructure sense. I think as most who have been following South Africa's headlines, we can quite now gratefully say we've crossed the Rubicon on public-private partnerships. It's now ideologically accepted, it's politically accepted, it's fiscally productive. And we're seeing these partnerships delivering very practical results. So if you look at Operation Vulindlela at the national level, that's how we've largely solved the energy crisis at a national level. And so we need a lot more of these public-private partnerships coming into play at a provincial level and at a metropolitan level. So we're very happy to see Transnet. They've been putting out various concessions for whether it's a Richards Bay container terminal or the Durban container terminal, and these are equity public-private partnerships, which are essential to unlock a check. If you want a check from the private sector, they would like to have an element of equity share and a seat at the table to see how we can more effectively implement public sector money and private sector money together. So a lot more of these now do need to take place because public sector does not have the balance sheets, we don't have the cash flows, and the scale of our, whether you want to say problems or needs, outpace the capacity of ordinary departments just to deliver incrementally. So here in eThekwini municipality, we have closed on, it's about a £100 million public-private partnership, which will be in wastewater treatment works. We haven't made the award yet. It was open, global bidders have come in, and it's going through an adjudication with a transactionary advisory with the likes of World Bank and others, and early next year the award will be made. That will fundamentally transform the face of how wastewater is treated in the city, which has been a bit of an Achilles heel for all of us. The storms wrecked our infrastructure and we're tired of seeing some ugly things happen on the beach closing every so often. And so this will bring in global expertise, massive hard currency, significant technological upgrades in 2 brand new wastewater treatment works and the associated pipe and pump stations. So Grant, I think it's things like this at not only municipal level, provincial and national level, we need to see more of in that public-private partnership space. And I'd like to encourage that whether you're in business domestically or internationally, don't just passively wait for a tender to come out. Legislation does offer for unsolicited bids. And beyond the structure of those, just starting conversations at whichever parastatal or whichever sphere of government, starting a conversation to try and see if a particular project, whether it's in IT, whether it's in energy, whether it's in water, wastewater, can be packaged a bit faster through those conversations as opposed to passively just waiting for a tender.
How does one get those conversations going? We were talking, for a lot of, it's hypothetical, yes, we need to know. How do we actually stimulate that? How do we get it going?
It's no secret in terms of entrepreneurial thinking. Where's the best place to start? Well, where's the biggest problem? And so not only where is the biggest problem, but do you have a vested interest in that problem? So if you are in business, medium, large or small, or even in a community group, if you are feeling that vested pain of the problem, you can start the conversations at a councillor level, a ward councillor level. You can start the conversations. I like organized business bodies. So you can start floating conversations in any organized business body, whether it's property owners, whether it's automotive manufacturing, whether it's the chambers of commerce, but you can launch these conversations in organized business bodies. And through some of the other formalized structures that have been put in place for Durban in particular. So we have these presidential equity working groups, PEWGs, there's 6 or 7 of them, and they range from water to power to tourism infrastructure, communications, etc. So starting the conversation through some of the platforms that are there, whether they're pure business or even these PPP platforms like the Presidential Equity Working Groups I'm speaking about.
Brilliant. I'm just thinking back to, so on a positive note, so we spoke earlier, we have elections coming up. And it's a big we don't know out there, what is going to happen, and how do we address this positively going into the elections, the local elections coming up soon, it's next year.
Yeah. So Grant, that brings me to the second form of a partnership, public-private partnership in a social sense. And whether you want to call it social engineering or whether you just want to call it relationship management. You know, the changes in South Africa, pre-democracy to now, didn't just happen by accident. You know, they didn't just happen naturally, organically. It was constructive interventions by business leaders, by faith-based leaders, by community leaders, and the political leaders themselves, you know. There was a realization that we needed to come together sooner rather than later. And I think this issue now, in terms of whether it's Durban, KZN, or South Africa, we're short on time. You know, we need more jobs yesterday. We need better service delivery like yesterday. We need more revenues to be generated through private sector investment like yesterday. We need skills development to happen faster like yesterday. And so what we don't have on our side is time. So what we do need to do, in my opinion, is let's not leave governing just to government. Let's not leave the management of politics just to the politicians. I feel there's an opportunity, whether it be faith-based leaders, large listed corporate leaders, or entrepreneurs in this city, to constructively engineer a program not unlike a corporate team building exercise. Not for any headlines, not for any media credit, not for any public communications, but quiet, behind the scenes nation building, as happened through, you know, whether you want to say 70s, 80s, early 90s and beyond. But we're back full circle to that need again for a program whereby, yes, it needs to be funded, but an opportunity to take leadership of political parties away into the bush, cell phones aside, bring a professional, respected, highly qualified, intelligent facilitator in the room, and take the leaders of the political parties on a journey of getting to know each other at a personal level and getting to appreciate the scale of the delivery in South Africa involves all of us and needs all of us to deliver it. And what would be the outcome? Well, the outcome is to try to compress the time frames of maturing a coalition government. Because we're into coalition politics whether we like it or not. And so if we can compress those time frames and have that maturity come through in the coalition government sooner rather than later, I think we're on a good path to try to then come back into our councils and into our legislatures to have the basic service delivery happen a lot faster.
Russell, last week's breakfast, this was something that was spoken about and everybody nodded. We all agree this has got to happen. So what do you think is the best way to get something like this, the inertia going forward, so we get it? Because as you say, time is of the essence. This needs to be done now.
Yeah.
How do we do this?
Yeah, Grant, I think first and foremost one needs to build a little bit of consensus amongst what I'd call a coalition of the willing. And it was great that we had quite a significant national political commentator there. Some may like the person and family, some may not, so I'm intentionally not mentioning names so that we don't try and attach this into any factions or families. But for me it was great to have that person who is mature, who is politically astute, who is well connected, receive this idea in a very enthusiastic way. So this to me gives it some degree of extra credibility and legs and objectivity. So I think the first step is we would need to build a small coalition of the willing to just share the vision, as it were. Now, who needs to be in there? I think we need at least one large corporate. There's many out there, and some of these large corporates have in fact intervened in the past. So you had things like the Dinner King scenarios, and you had Clem Sunter with his high road, low road, and so on. So I think in this building of the coalition, then would be helpful to have large corporate X. But because we are very localized in Durban and KZN, and I believe we're quite a relational area, if you contrast Durban and KZN with other parts of South Africa, we're very much more relationally driven. So I think it would be helpful to have a significant entrepreneur, a significant respected KZN entrepreneur in this discussion as well. And then off the back of that consensus, recruit who would be a well-respected national objective facilitator in the process. And then it's just about laying out what the program would be and being quite intentional as to what are the desired outcomes. You know, this isn't just an exercise for fun. We want to have some very clear specific outcomes. And the emergence of whether it's 2 things or 5 things that are agreed at the end of these, whether it's 2 sessions or 4 sessions, could make a dramatic impact in terms of maturing the coalitions to focus on delivery and understand each other a bit better.
All right, I think that's a clear thing. What I'd like to do is encourage, maybe get hold of our office. Let us as KZN Business Sense and Top Business coordinate this and get it going, because I think the time is, as Russell said, we don't have time. Elections are coming up fast, and it's actually a critical time in South African history, in KZN history and economics. So, Russell, thank you very much for your time, and it was great chatting to you again.
Pleasure. Thanks, Grant. Look forward to working together with you guys at KZN Top Business a lot more.